Greetings and welcome to the Mount Rushmore podcast. My name is Jeff, and I'm joined, as always, by my good buddies Richard.
Hello.
And Michael.
Howdy.
Richard and Michael have amassed a large following of people who hang on their every word, who've forgone their identities, their bank accounts, their families, just to follow along in the cult of the Mount Rushmore podcast. I am a much more smaller on the level. I'm not like a level 20 mind wizard like they are in this cult, but they are the founders. They are the ones, the be-alls and end-alls of this cult. I'm just kind of an acolyte hovering around in their ozone. We also have guests on this podcast in the form of Steph and Tom Clark. How you guys doing?
Hey, good. How are you?
I would say they're guests, but really they're enemy combatants because they are challenging, like Leia Remini challenging this cult.
We can't say their name. Don't say their name.
We can't say their names. In case you haven't guessed the topic, this is the Mount Rushmore of cults, and we are going to avoid
but fun ones, right?
The fun ones,
not like the death ones and like the
Kool-Aid,
puddles of blood and Kool-Aid.
Yeah, Kool-Aid will not be drunk.
It's technically with the cults that end up dying. It's like that's the end of the cult. So it's like you're kind of
that's
blowing your future. Yeah.
That's funny that it's ironic because like Jim Jones probably said that they were the fun one too. Hey, we're the fun ones. It's all fun until the Kool-Aid comes out. But Tom and Steph, speaking of fun ones, are stand-up comics as well as animal rights advocates, and they have a great podcast called I'm a Rescue. Could you tell us about that podcast?
Yeah, sure. We have different guest actors, writers, comics come on and tell their story of something they have to overcome in life.
Yeah. We had one episode which was with the JetBlue flight attendant who kind of lost it and ended up leaving via the emergency slide.
Oh, wow.
I remember him. Yeah. I remember him. Yeah.
And he told the whole tale of both how he did it and why he did it and the post sort of what happened afterward. And it was really interesting to hear his story. And he's going, he's had some problems afterwards and kind of dealing with that fame. So it's a very popular one for us.
Wow, that's an amazing background to what was kind of a blip on the news feed and something maybe some late night talk show host might have made fun of. But there was it's an extreme piece of behavior, but it probably had extreme circumstances and extremely strong emotions behind it for that individual.
Yeah, it was interesting. He would go to Steph's restaurant. She was working in Thousand Oaks, and
right after it happened, I was like, "You're a hero!" And he was because we all, we're at the service industry, want to tell people to F off and can't, and he did it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Really nice dude. So yeah, nice enough to be on our podcast.
Yeah, he walked down the runway with a 6-pack of beer, drinking it on JFK's tarmac. Right after 9/11, and he just got away and got in his car and went home, and then passed out and woke up to the cops at his door, like federal police.
Wow!
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, we gotta invite our guests, our listeners, to follow up on that I'm a Rescue podcast and listen to that episode. What's that gentleman's name?
Steven Slater.
Slater. Okay.
And it's it's anchor.fm/I'm a Rescue.
Cool. Okay. Awesome. So just recap. We are discussing the Mount Rushmore of cults. Our guests are Steph and Tom Clark, and as our guests, they are going to go first. So let us know your first choice to be on the Mount Rushmore of cults.
Scientology.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was too excited to say that.
Oh, well, awesome. So I imagine some of those listening might even have there are obscure cults out there, and then there's the McDonald's of cults, and that is indeed Scientology. Some would describe it as a faith, right? Or I don't know, a way of life. But
they try to.
They sure try to. What made you choose this one?
I think, mainly because they are tax exempt, and so that really gives them a lot of power to keep building real estate and they have so much money and
just the clout. Yeah, the clout of celebrities who are in it. Michael Pena, I think Beck is in it, and Leah Remini, you guys mentioned, but she left, of course.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise. I mean, so the fact that it has this power over celebrities is amazing. I think that's why we kind of ranked it number one in our book.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I heard that much about it before moving out to Los Angeles, but coming out to Los Angeles, it is one of the main fixtures on Hollywood Boulevard. It feels like it has a big presence here, not in small part because of the celebrities who tout it and its benefits to their lives. So
I think it's a good choice because it hits all like the kind of all these figureheads of what we assume is in a cult, where it has these, a powerful leader, this kind of pyramid structure of people of influence. It's very secretive, has some nonsense about Martians or aliens on a planet made of volcanoes, something with a commercial and more volcanoes.
Allegedly.
People sucked in.
Yes.
Allegedly. You're right. It's funny that you just think of this. It's got it all. It is the going into McDonald's, be like, like Jeff said, I've got what do I want from a cult? A little bit of aliens. Okay, here we go.
I actually, doing the acting thing, I submitted for something I didn't know was a Scientology project, and they called me and I was like, I better not go in. Like, I feel like I could go for it. I feel like I would join and be.
You have to have a lot of money too, unless you join the Sea Org, and then they make you. Yeah, billion-year contract.
A billion-year?
They want you to commit.
Talking about Hollywood, its adjacency or its presence within the entertainment industry. I remember hearing a story of Tom, and I don't know about Steph, have exist in the comedy world, but Tom, I know you for sure have existed in the improv comedy world. And it was supposedly Del Close told L. Ron Hubbard, when L. Ron Hubbard was telling him about this crazy origin story that was the background to Scientology, I think Del Close said, wow, that sounds crazy. You should make that into a religion. So we have him to thank for that. And as I recall, the Improv Olympic wasn't that far from the Scientology building. So they both had their little cults down there on Hollywood Boulevard.
Yeah, even across the street at UCB, I mean, that sort of turned into a cult in and of itself, and just not paying performers.
Yeah.
Making a lot of money.
That's not on our list, though.
It's not on our list.
Absolutely. That's something I would say. My wife was for very many years working for an improv comedy theater, as was I. And boy, if you want to deal with something that kind of steals your identity and takes all your money and convinces you that you're just on the brink of getting to the next level and breaking through, if only you give us your credit card number. Okay, so cool. So we'll move on. Tom and Steph have come out swinging with Scientology. Richard, Michael, what do you got?
All right. So our first choice, it's interesting that you mentioned Scientology and you brought that up because we went the fictionalized version of Scientology route, and we went with Mindhead, the cult at the periphery of the Steve Martin and Eddie Murphy movie Bowfinger.
Oh, awesome. That's really awesome.
You could tell Steve. Yeah, they wore these pyramid hats everywhere, like inside their compound, and they had a main building that looked suspiciously similar to the big blue Scientology building in East Hollywood. And you could tell it was Steve Martin wanted to do commentary on Scientology, but he knew he would get sued to oblivion if he actually mentioned the word Scientology. So this was kind of his way to get around it.
Wow.
And yeah, as a cult that's, the trappings are very similar. You've got, their goal is to get rich celebrities into their system and then continue to have them pay for more and more things and more treatments and moving up, like you said, in the levels. And I think Bowfinger is a really underrated comedy.
Yeah.
I think we may have discussed this on the show before, but I think it's just a really one of Steve Martin and Eddie Murphy's best movies, each separately, and then you put them together. It's fantastic.
And one of the rare movies where somebody playing two actors pulls it off, like Eddie Murphy playing his nerdy brother and playing the superstar Eddie Murphy, was like so well done.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, because the plot of the movie is he has to use Eddie Murphy's nerdy brother to be in his movie, and they look the same, so it works out. But
and I appreciate the fact that they kind of show that the type of person is who would get sucked into this cult, because like you said, Eddie Murphy is playing Kit, who is one of the biggest action star in the world at the time, and he's also someone who is very paranoid about everything.
Right.
And they kind of use that paranoia against him to kind of bring him closer to Mindhead, that they're the only ones who can protect him. And that's a technique that is used in cults. They go after certain personality types. Right. I mean, there's a reason why one of the, I guess my first entry into Scientology or understanding of it was when I was in college at USC, and they had someone in the center of campus offering free personality tests.
Oh yeah.
And what they do is you take the personality test. They don't quite mention who's giving it. Then after you take the test, this is really interesting. We think you do great with us. We're with Scientology, da 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 da. And that's kind of how they drag you in. And specifically, I believe they're really looking for certain personality types that they know would react beneficially to what they're selling.
Or fall for it.
Yeah, basically.
Can I take
that film? That was a hilarious movie. I can't find it anywhere. Is it on? It's not like on Netflix. I haven't seen it floating around there. Do you think Scientology pulled it out and off?
I think they did.
Yeah, let's assume they did. Let's say that they did. I hope we get sued by Scientology. That'd give us a little bit of notoriety. So please, keep it going.
We've perfectly fit the profile. A podcast with low self-esteem that's been plugging along for 250 episodes and nobody listening. Until now, we've got the powerhouse comic duo of Steph and Tom Clark, and we're glad to have them on here. Tom brought up something in his, and that you brought up in yours, is this sense of weakness that is targeted by those cults. But then I, like Tom, feel like I am just the kind of guy who would just get suckered in with, like, my eyes would turn into hypno wheels and I would just get pulled in as soon as I put my hands on their e-meter or whatever that machine is. The next thing I know, I'd be pulling out my credit card. So, I don't feel like that. I don't buy everything I see on TV. I don't fall for a bunch of fast talking pitchmen like a cartoon wolf with a big trench coat with watches on the inside. I don't know why I think that would happen, but
Jeff, I've been to your house. I've seen all the Ronco products that you have in your garage.
Do you feel the same?
Scientology, how they make it work so well is in the beginning. What I've seen is that they'll give you financial advice and tools, so it seems helpful. So you seem like you're getting, like, if you're an actor trying to be more confident, they play into that, and it works for people at first, and then it gets crazier and crazier as you go, as you're just committed and you're $100,000 in.
Yeah. Steph, you also alluded to something that I think we're discovering as more docs come out about the organizations, is that we see how they pull in people, but we see how they use the money to purchase assets like real estate and things. So in a way, it's one of the biggest real estate companies in the world. And as a industry that's kind of posing as a faith organization, like religions, they're all tax exempt and all that stuff. So wow.
Before we get too much further down the road, I do want to give a shout out to the Oh No, Ross and Carrie podcast. If anyone out there has not listened to that, it's a strong recommendation from me. Two hosts, Ross and Carrie, they will go out and basically jump right into different cults and religions and, like, basically join for a couple of weeks just to see what it's like.
Wow.
Wow.
So they did one with Scientology where they intended just to take a few entry level classes and that would be it. And they wound up just kind of going deeper and deeper into it. And it wound up being like a 10-part whole series. And it's probably as much as I've ever learned about what actually happens when you're going through the Scientology classes and the ways they try to upsell you and kind of string you along. So it's a great podcast in general, but those Scientology episodes are highly recommended if you're into that sort of thing.
Go undercover.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
There was a comic who was a Minnesota comic who moved out here for a while, who I was acquainted with, who worked for a copy center, like a Kinko's type thing that was adjacent to the Scientology center. Their main client was Scientology. And it was funny to hear him discuss it kind of like he was one of those contractors who's on the Death Star, you know, the guy who just like mops up at the Death Star. Like, does he believe in the Force? No, I don't believe in the Force, but I kind of got to know stuff about the Force. You know, I kind of got to know the evil stuff that happens. So he would say, you don't train something or learn something, somebody hats you into it. I'll hat you how to use that copier. Hey, hat me how to use the postal meter. Like, and I said, what does that mean? And he said, in Scientology, jobs are not part of your personality. A job is just like a different hat you wear. Like a cop wears a certain hat or a chef wears a certain hat. So
a hat salesman sells a certain hat. Yep, we got it.
So it was funny to hear him say, like, he had this terminology that he had to learn for work. And I asked, are they trying to get you in the cult? He goes, no, they just want me to make the copies. But it's important for us to kind of know some of the. So it was like, if you're the caterer for Scientology, they don't care whether you're part of Scientology, but you have to learn part of their cult lingo. It was crazy. I wish
they just need to know how many quesadillas you need.
Yeah, I don't know. These low self-esteem people, they need a lot of quesadillas. Okay, cool. So that's awesome. Let's go on to Steph and Tom's second choice.
All right.
I want to let you.
The second one is multi-level marketing companies.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Pyramid schemes, and more specifically, Beachbody.
Oh, wow. Okay. What have you had?
A lot of time on my hands, you guys. This is all I've been researching the last 10 months.
So let us know what you've dug up about these organizations.
Yes. So they all the MLMs kind of work the same way, where they're, again, with those levels that you kind of work your way up the ladder. Let's say you're at a gold level, then you get an Escalade, and it makes it sound like, oh, I'm getting an Escalade, but no, you're making car payments, you're leasing it, and if you don't make quota, then they'll take it away from you. So you don't own an Escalade. And then all of their methods of recruiting, they call them boss babes. There's guys in them too, but mainly there's like 70% of people in MLMs are women. Some quote like that, about 70%. So they're very predatory as they approach women on Facebook. They'll message you and like, oh, I have this product and you should try it. And then they try to recruit women that way. They focus on recruiting people that are in desperate need of money, and they really focus on single women. So it's very predatory.
Yeah. Do you think there's anything positive for people in this, or do you think some people find a sense of purpose or mission, or actually economic relief from it? No.
It's about 99% of distributors and MLMs lose money.
Oh wow.
So even the people at the top, they're making money because all those on the bottom, like all the people underneath them.
But my Beachbody company is going to make it. I don't care what she says.
Sometimes I'll see something like Herbalife as a big sponsor. Any soccer game I've ever seen has had an Herbalife jersey on. Richard, you're a big sports fan. Is that
yeah, they sponsor the LA Galaxy. Much to the embarrassment of many of their fans.
Herbalife has a lot of class action lawsuits, and the founder got in trouble with, I think, fraud.
Yeah,
that's right, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean they tried to make it fail
Well, they target like the Latino community and make it about the American dream, and they make you buy the Herbalife stores.
Yeah.
And it's
real estate based. It's buying the stores, and then the products are second nature. And then the goal is to get more salespeople underneath you. And the products don't sell. They're all terrible products. They like cause you to break out in rashes and
oh, wow.
Yeah. And they've been sued, I think, and they've kind of just rebranded themselves. And
because they have, Herbalife has a lot of money, so they can afford the class action lawsuits.
What's interesting is the dimension that is different. I guess I don't know what or I have a sense of what Scientology promises you, but how it might be different than what, say, a multi-level marketing organization does. It seems like one is enlightenment and an awareness and all this stuff, and the others that may lead ultimately to fulfillment in regards to relationships or financial. It seems like multi-level marketing is really just about achieving wealth and
right. Then a lot of them have pre-pandemic big conventions like in Vegas and Miami, where it's just like a big celebration. They'll have like a celebrity guest speaker, so it makes it feel like a special event.
And they show their top sellers. These are our gold members, and these guys built from nothing, and look what they've achieved. And Scientology sort of does the thing too, where it's like, look at all the great stuff we're doing, and it's like it's almost like a Tony Robbins seminar or something.
I think it's always interesting when you see someone that you know kind of fall into not the trap, but fall into the MLM thing, and you're just watching it from the outside and saying like, wow, they really just, their entire life shifts into this mode of trying to sell leggings to people. And it's just like all the time, it's all they're doing, and videos are posting, and the life that used to be about kind of like their children or their friends and hanging out is suddenly like, I've got to do this video now. And how many of these videos do we have to do? And how many of this things do I have to sell? And how much of this product needs to be purchased ahead of time? And you're just like, wow, I can't imagine.
Go ahead. Totally. I would say both of them involve brainwashing, as far as like with Scientology. If a friend or family member leaves Scientology and they talk poorly of it, then the people in Scientology say you're not allowed to talk to that family member. And they actually have reports. They will encourage people to write reports on each other if anyone's talking bad about Scientology. And with the MLMs, if I had a friend, for example, I told her, hey, you might want to watch the John Oliver special on MLMs and, just information about it. And she took that as, I'm not being a supportive friend. And they kind of brainwash the MLM people to think if someone's talking poorly of MLMs, they're jealous, they're not supportive, they don't care about your success.
I find it fascinating. Both of the examples that you've shared are adjacent or similar to something that has a greater level of acceptance within society. So Scientology, Christianity, they each have their mythology behind them, creation stories, and they each have both tax exempt. They each have real estate as a foundation of their one of their profit structures, I guess. But the latter is just a little bit more, I guess it's got, a couple centuries more of time behind it. But if a friend told you that they were getting caught up in Christianity, like what would you react negatively, or would you just say, good for you, Larry? Or if somebody, it seems like multi-level marketing is very adjacent to exactly what this country's company, how ironic, is founded on capitalism. We're the American dream is what they're selling in multi-level marketing. What is it about them that makes them not evil, different? that makes them a cult. As experts,
I don't know. I think that if you're involved or passionate about something, if it's religious or whatever it is, if it's not harming yourself or others, and it's not being judgmental to others, and it's making you a better person, then I'm all about it. But I don't think that's the case with MLMs and Scientology. I think there's a lot of abuse in it, physically and mental, and it doesn't make you a better person.
And they are isolating you from your support structure. I would say in a cult, if there's any question of those in your personal network not supporting it, they're going to pull you right away from those people and subsume you into that cult. And I, the one thing that Michael kind of touched on is when people get involved in multi-level marketing, I just feel bad because I feel like that person is saying goodbye to 90% of their friends, because friends are now customers. And if they're not, if they don't buy, they ain't friends anymore. As
or if they don't rate and review our podcast,
no longer friends.
I mean, come on,
friends.
You're gonna say something.
How many times?
Yeah, when you said that, the New York life insurance, I was thinking of that. There was a guy in comedy sports. I guess it wasn't New York Life. Maybe it was, but he would start working for a financial company, and he wanted to meet with every single member of comedy sports to go over finances and maybe be a financial planner or whatever. And it felt very culty, because it was just like, hey, I'm going to use my improv troupe and just sit down with every single. I met with him and I didn't do it, but like 6 months later, seeing him on the streets, like, oh yeah, I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Like he was almost embarrassed of it. Like he fell for it, I guess.
Wow. That is a funny thing, actually, as artists and improv people and comics and things like that. The idea of, investments and financial, somebody trying to sell me on financial stability, like, who are you, some kind of scam artist? Whereas any other normal person would see that as an actual benefit to their lives.
Also, to hit up your improv troupe for finances, probably not the best business plan.
Yeah, you're fishing. We're one level above homeless people. You're fishing in the wrong pond. Okay, Richard and Michael, what is your second choice for the Mount Rushmore of cults?
Okay, our second choice is called Raelism, or the Raelists, and maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong, but who cares? I don't care. This is a religious organization, cult, based around a lot of different things that are just really out there.
Oh wow!
It's focused around extraterrestrials called the Elomen, who have created humanity in order to advance technology. It believes that these people, these Elomen, have come to Earth at some point in the past and have engaged with humanity in order to advance them to the next technological level of being. But they can only really do that once we've kind of achieved peace and understanding of one another, which sounds really nice. The weird stuff about it, if that wasn't the weird stuff, was that they're also really into cloning and have the aforementioned kind of power structure that has been mentioned before, starting out with level 0 trainee, going up to level 1 assistant organizer, then assistant priest and bishop, and then, a planetary guide, obviously. It just gets weirder and weirder. And I think it's very fascinating. They have a business that they've started called Clonaid, which is all about the cloning of human beings. They've claimed to clone the first one named Eve, which is just like, wow. Okay, of course. I mean, I guess that's where I start to take a step back and being like, does it have to be so obvious? Does the first person you clone have to be named Eve or Adam? Couldn't it have been like Todd?
Yeah.
Or like, I don't know.
When it seems like my Futurama fan fiction, that's when it's not. Yeah, that seems like a first draft. If you were in an improv sketch, like that's the first thing you would come up with, and nobody would question it. So is it Raelist as in ray of light? What R-E-Y? What? How do you
R-A-E-L?
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's so many different, like every time I think about this, I think my different favorite aspects keep like popping out. Like their official symbol is like a Star of David that's encircling a swastika. And it's like,
Whoa.
man, you just don't know what, I know you're trying to pull something back from there, but like, you're not going to win that one. The guy that created it, his name is Claude Vollehorn. He's like French ex car driver. He was like a speed
Race car driver.
Thank you. And you just look at pictures of him and he's like totally like he's half bald with tufts of hair and this weird beard and he's wearing all white. And you're just like, yeah, okay. That checks that checks that box too.
Yeah.
But I think my favorite of all the things that are believed by this group is that the spirit is undying, the soul is undying, and that one of their goals is to clone people to bring people back into their bodies. But then there's this vengeful aspect is they'd love to clone Hitler so that they could reinstall Hitler's soul so he could be properly punished. Same thing with like the people that caused 9/11, get their remains, clone them so that they could be punished. And that is just fascinating to me. I just love that there's just all out in front of just vengeful persecution, via cloning.
Yeah. Are there any similarities? Like some of these cults and things like that have, it's almost like they're kind of apples and apples to other ones. Is there some similarities? You go, oh yeah, that's a cult, and like taking away financial assets or calling people by numbers or anything like that? Or?
I think the pyramid structure of it all there is definitely a preaching of like a peace and love and understanding in order to like achieve a level of enlightenment. It's a purchasing of land in order to create these embassies around the world. There's a lot of stuff that's just a lot of buying into this, kind of future self beyond what we have now. And this, religion is like that. It's just the promise of something better on the other side. But first you have to, give us your credit cards and sign everything away. And
I think it starts with a name, and I think Raelism, that's not a good name. That's like from a marketing standpoint.
Yeah.
I would nothing to do with the railroad, nothing.
I assume the fans that follow Sugar Ray might have considered that at some point.
Right.
Realize the negative associations. Okay, so hey guys, we are at our halftime, and at this point, we're going to beg you to join the cult of the Mount Rushmore podcast and download, rate, and review past episodes. Go listen, and any place you get podcasts, it's on all the things. And also, do us a solid and share the good word. Contact all your friends, the ones you think may have a podcast listening device, like anything, a computer or an iPhone, and ask them to download and listen to our podcast. Wealth and all your wildest dreams will follow very shortly there afterwards. You do all that stuff. But there's also another podcast I want to invite you to follow, and Steph and Tom are going to tell you about that.
Yes, the I'm a Rescue podcast, available on all the different platforms. Anchor.fm/I'm a Rescue. We named it after the dog we rescued a few years ago, Abigail. Now we have Ruby. But it's about people overcoming difficulties in their lives and just making their life better. Sort of inspirational, funny, and all points in between.
Cool. Do you ever take, one thing we do is we invite our guests who encounter us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram to make suggestions of future topics or subjects or anything like that. Do you ever get people who find your podcasts out in the wild, or do you mostly discover people in person and welcome them to be guests? How does it work?
Lately it's been online. So I found this cool lady who started this movement called Gray. It's about a gray hair movement for women, like how to embrace women going gray. So I found her on Instagram and had her on the podcast, and that was really fun. And I found people that have been in multi-level marketing companies to talk about their story, and I found them on Instagram. So lately, it's been since we've been in quarantine, we find people online, and Tom has interviewed friends that live in faraway places.
Yeah. I tried to interview Jerry Mathers from Leave It to Beaver.
Really?
Because
you might be doing it.
I can maybe do it, but yeah, it's my agent actually represents like all the old school celebrities, like I think Catwoman. Is it Catwoman or Bat? I can't remember if it's Catwoman or Batgirl that is still around, but he represents.
Oh, Jeff will know.
Well, which actors? There were multiple. There's
Julie Newmar. There was Eartha Kitt.
Julie is still alive. Eartha has.
Julie Newmar. Yeah.
Oh my God! Well, let me know if you get that one on the line. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Wow, that's pretty awesome. Yvonne Craig has passed, the Batgirl. Well, I also am interested in your careers that exist in the world of comedy and kind of having a laugh and kind of dwelling in sarcasm and silly make-em-ups, and the sincerity that your podcast sits inside. Do you find that people want to know, are you guys serious? Are you guys serious with this whole inspiration podcast when you're such funny people in part of your entertainment career?
I think we're mostly serious on the podcast. I don't know if it's really, maybe it's just like a little bit of humor.
Yeah, we kind of separate one of the last interviews I had was with my brother who was kidnapped in Brazil like about 20 years ago. So I never really talked to him about it. So I kind of got all the gritty details of it. And there's some humor to it. There's some just the interesting experience of sitting in the back seat and they're all listening to like, what's that song? Lean on Me. And driving in my brother's car that they stole. And he's sitting in the back seat and pointing out where the ATM is. So there's those lighthearted moments that come up, but yeah, I think it comes from a place of sincerity and using our comedy to kind of, to kind of, I don't know if it's to point out the absurdity of it, but just to kind of, to deal with those circumstances.
Oh yeah. It's a great coping mechanism, a sense of humor. Yeah. All right, dude. So let's move on to the third choice from Tom and Steph of cults.
Well, I went big on this one. I went the Catholic Church.
There you go. Gloves are off.
Gloves are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I grew up Catholic grade school, Catholic high school, Catholic college.
Wow.
Raised in it. And I even lived in Mexico for 6 months. I lived in Juarez, volunteered for a Catholic organization where we woke up every day at 6 a.m., went to mass, then went to this like Boys and Girls Club, and we built this facility for kids, for all the kids in gangs and stuff. And it was a great experience, but it was like from 6 a.m. till like 11 o'clock at night, we were doing this, and then we were volunteers. And I enjoyed the experience, but I just think like the amount of guilt that I'm racked with later on in life of anything enjoyable or anything like, oh, things are going good for me, is like, wait a minute, Tom, you should feel bad about that. I feel like that's sort of the essence of a cult, right? Kind of keeps you down, so I've not been Catholic probably for the last 10 years, but plus all the priests molesting kids.
Oh, yeah.
So that didn't help.
Yeah.
So all those circumstances just kind of led me to realize that it's sort of a cult that's just lasted, like you said, for centuries. The Inquisition, I mean, geez, they killed, they forced people to be Catholic. They forced religion on people, or you died. So that's pretty extreme, I guess. I don't know if that brings in death cult, but close.
Yeah. Have you found that it was, from a debriefing standpoint, hard to escape those emotions that you had, or hard to escape the, or move gracefully away from the relationships with people who didn't support your separation from the ideology that was painful to you? Was it hard to jump out the gang?
Not really. I mean, I didn't make a big statement about it. It was just kind of like, I think it was mainly with my parents and just saying I don't really go to church anymore, and just stating sort of the reasons I said about just the way Catholics have sort of brushed under the rug the whole, assaulting of kids and stuff, that I just don't agree with it. And I think that was the easiest thing for me, was to have my parents, or especially my mom, kind of be like, okay, I understand if that's, it looks like you've done your research. And I think Steph sort of pointed out like the absurdity of just, why can't you just be a good person to be a good person, as opposed to being a good person because you're promised everlasting life or whatever, and you have to be Catholic, otherwise you don't get it. So that sort of, I think, to have somebody with an outsider's perspective of that and kind of confused, like, well, why'd you go do that? Like, why, kind of helped me open my eyes a little bit.
Wow. That's very interesting. Do you feel like you got critique for being, let me just say this, like, and maybe that was the first part of your life, and your entertainment stand-up comedy part of your life has been after moving away from Catholicism. But I know that were I to meet at a show a stand-up comic who was also a reverend or something like that, for me, that would be the weirder thing. That for me, that would be the oddball thing. Not that, like, you have some people in your life who may think it's kind of bizarre that you aren't Catholic anymore, but there are maybe more people out here in your community that would look askance if you were. Like, this Tom, he goes to church every day of the week, and he believes in this guy in space who lives with his dad in the clouds and all that kind of stuff. And it almost seems like that in some worlds in entertainment is even more bizarre, believing in this ancient religion.
Yeah. I think when I first moved out, I was pretty religious. I would go to church every week and all that. But it just kind of, and I guess I sort of held that like a superiority of like, I go to church, and like, and like you'd tweet something like, oh, the priest really nailed it today, hilarious stuff, or, whatever, just to kind of virtue signal that I go to church. And so I guess there was a point maybe where I kind of like, but then you're just, lording it, to use that, lording it over them, of just like, I'm morally superior or whatever, which isn't the point of any good religion, is to point out that you're better than other people. That shouldn't be what the religion is, right?
Yeah. Okay, so we've got Scientology, pyramid schemes, Catholic Church. I'm predicting their fourth one is America, or I don't know, puppies. But we'll burn that bridge when we get to it. Michael and Richard, what's your third choice?
Third choice. It's interesting you brought up a lording something over people, like you're better than them. Because our next one is CrossFit.
I knew it. I knew the dagger was coming at some point.
Jeff.
Oh man,
Jeff, we need to talk.
If I could punch you through this monitor. Wait, they did train me to do that.
Oh God.
All right, bring it on.
Well, I think it's, for me, it's less singling out CrossFit as it is kind of a lot of different exercise or fitness groups. Yeah. Where there is that sort of, for lack of a better term, cult-like feel to it, where it is, you are part of this, your friends are part of this, this is something that we do. It's just part of what you do at this point. I was almost going to choose Bikram yoga. Oh, the hot yoga. Yeah, which actually did come in to be a little bit more of a cult even than CrossFit. And I don't mean to pick on CrossFit. It was just a fun way to kind of rail on you a little bit, Jeff. Oh yeah. But there is something about, when someone gets into this concept of, I'm going to work out and I've got this very specific program or type of thing that I'm doing, and I'm doing it with other people, there is that element of peer pressure from these people that you've now made this connection to, that you're going to keep doing it. And this idea that you have to, God, we talk about you guys talked about improv and kind of the ability to continue to sink money into it because you're trying to reach up to that next level. I think a lot of these kind of fitness-based groups have that element to them as well.
Yeah. Oh, I have in many workouts for nearly the decade that I've been doing CrossFit, turned to the next person next to me and said, "Are we in a cult? I think we are." Because we're all of us doing what the idiot at the front says, and he's in charge because he paid a certain amount of money to get the training to be a level 1 certified CrossFit coach. So I know that the hallmark of some cults is inside terminology. There's so much insider terminology in fitness. It could be Zumba, it could be cardio bar. But in CrossFit,
don't you dare take down Billy Blanks right now.
Oh, Tybo is definitely. I think somebody took down him a long time ago, so I don't have to do that. But in CrossFit, there are all these 3-letter acronyms. Like you said, Richard, when cost becomes an investment, you have to defend the investment. It has to mean something because it costs so much to do. If you were to turn to somebody and show any doubt that it means something, that it's making you better, the facade is cracked and the whole thing comes apart. But oh my God, recently CrossFit went through a crisis because it's like some political organizations, MAGA, its leader, it was corrupt. Its leader was morally questionable, said a lot of stupid things, and everybody would just kind of like gloss over his huge imperfections and personality flaws because they so much believed in this thing that he'd created. So I think so many people look beyond what the current political leader of the United States says because they believe in this agenda that surrounds him. So, oh my God, yeah, totally a cult. Well, improv was a cult too. I mean, in CrossFit, like the things that are just so ridiculous. Like I finally got,
you broke through the crack. You broke through, Richard. You got to him.
Good.
Oh, I know it's a cult.
Finally.
Well, the good news is we're not CrossFit anymore. My gym de-affiliated. They still take all our money, but we're not affiliated with CrossFit.
They're a freelance cult now.
They're a freelance cult. Yeah.
It's called It's called Ray. Yeah.
Steph, could you repeat yourself?
Oh yeah, sorry. So was CrossFit at your gym? They weren't. It's separate gym. Does that make sense?
CrossFit is like the franchise, and then all the things that they teach really are kind of borrowed from different fitness training and conditioning aspects. But there is an organization called CrossFit, and it has you can be a affiliated gym. I don't know what the
like
equivalent.
A franchise.
Yeah, I think I don't know. Like Bikram is a certain type of branded yoga that
you have to pay. Yeah,
you have to pay.
Yeah, have to pay a certain amount of money, and then you have to go to training.
Yeah.
To be able to be certified to be Bikram yoga instructor. Yeah.
Yeah, and for CrossFit, you really just have to look for the logo. It's a big cross with a really buff Jesus carrying it. But like he's really ripped.
That's it.
He's really ripped. Like he's got big lats. Dude, and his delts are just blasted. And like he looks really good. He looks swole. He's really good. He looks really good.
It was a year ago that I was finally able to do this dumb thing that's a real challenge for me. It was a real challenge. Other people, I've seen them do it on their first day. And that was to kind of lift yourself on these rings and kind of swing yourself up into a kind of an upright position on these rings. They call it a muscle up. I was finally able to accomplish that. And everybody applauded me like I'd, cured cancer or discovered perpetual motion, probably because I'm like the kid, the old guy in my gym that nobody thinks can do anything, but they applauded me. And I was so excited. Then it occurred to me, yeah, it only cost me $12,000 to learn how to do that stupid thing over the 10 years of payments of this cult. They take your money. They have multiple 3-letter acronyms and inside jargon. You're always trying to get to the level above. In our gym, there's this thing called fire breather that's the ultimate level you can get. And once you get to that, there's this thing called like double fire breather. Like, oh, come on, man. such a cult. But like, I think, Steph, like the example you gave is there are some aspects of committing yourself to a goal, to working with a group to attain a common goal, and not giving up and devoting yourself to this thing, and losing yourself and being part of a group. Some of those are rewarding, right? Like you could join the Peace Corps and do a lot of that. And
Right.
Tom, you probably made a big impact on people's lives in that
Right.
service, but it's all that identity loss and all that stuff that goes along with it can be dilatory. Richard,
Jeff, do you have nicknames in CrossFit? Like, are you like Snapper or something like that? Or like given a new name?
Oh, did I have a nickname? I know other people did. Like this guy's Ninja, this guy's Cobra. It's very, Cobra.
Like G.I. Joe. Yeah.
G.I. Joe. Yeah. Snake Eyes. Yeah.
Roadblock and
Robot.
barbecue.
But
That's
yeah,
true.
what we really are is MasterCard, Visa, American Express. That's what we are to the owner.
Are they losing a lot of gyms because of the pandemic? Or are they still...
They lost a lot of gyms during the social political change that was instigated by George Floyd's untimely demise and the Black Lives Matter. They brought to light some, the owner said some stupid things, and he'd been saying stupid things for a long time. And CrossFit is such a weird thing. Like bodybuilding, you remember the movie like Pumping Iron? Bodybuilding used to be really weird. Now it's something that happens in every Planet Fitness and every whatever 24-hour fitness. It's something that people are always trying to make their muscles bigger. It used to be a weird thing. Well, CrossFit is trying to not be a weird thing. It's trying not to be a punchline on a sitcom, and it's trying to be a sport, and here the owner is really saying stupid, sexist, insensitive things on his Twitter and whatever. So many gyms de-affiliated from CrossFit. And you are right, Steph, in the pandemic times, I'm not going to go sweat in a box with a bunch of people. I barely wanted to do it to begin with. So yeah.
Hey, can we just pause 1 minute?
Oh yeah.
I got to take Ruby out.
She's fine. We have one more to do.
But she's not.
Oh.
I better just take.
Sorry, is that
5
okay?
minutes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Just be 5 minutes.
Cool.
Okay. Do we want to end and come back, or we just hang out for a couple minutes?
Oh, we'll just hang out for a couple minutes.
Okay. Steph,
Yeah, my mom used to be I know this
bodybuilder.
isn't going to be in there. Yeah, she was a bodybuilder, and she was a natural competitor. And I remember she won like every competition she entered, and she was really devoted to it. But I remember like in the 3rd grade in Mrs. Utsumi's class, my mom came into the class and I don't know, it was like show and tell day, but she would like pose or do something with her muscles. And she was a tiny woman. She was 5'2", but she just ripped. And I remember some kid asked me like, does it hurt when your mom spanked you? And it was like, no, my mom is like the gentlest lady from Austria. These two things aren't affiliated. And I remember that was my first sense of like people thinking that this was really strange. Like this is like muscles denoted strength, which denoted like
Violence.
Thank you, Richard.
Yeah,
and it was just like, oh wow, this is maybe because like Arnold Schwarzenegger went on to become like an actor that bench press predators and shit, but like no, she just goes and she works out and she has her job and she takes care of us. Very strange.
Yeah, I will say one somewhat common sentiment has been shared among I've been there for like 11 years. So there's like new people all the time. And I will meet people, mostly I would say females, who've come in and they'll say, if they say in the first week, yeah, my boyfriend or husband is worried it's going to make me really bulky and I won't be attractive anymore. If they say that, they are divorced within a year. at the most. It might even be 6 months. Because what I've found is that your body, when you engage in a new fitness endeavor and you become really excited about it, you have this community around you, your body starts transforming, people's minds start transforming, and they start to realize there are people in their lives who are unsupportive of their personal growth. And those people are their boyfriends or spouses or something. And they are divorced within 6 months here because they were already looking for some change when they walked in there for some change. But I would say, don't worry about your body changing. Worry about the brain changing, because that's the thing that really happens. And that's the thing that it's a catalyst for other people to make these changes. That was I think one of the most compelling things. Like,
that's interesting. Yeah. Divorce attorneys should hang out there then.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Client.
absolutely. Michael, what's funny to hear about that thing with your mom is would you say you as a young person, like as an older person, you got more into team sports and things like that, if kickball could be called that, but were you more cerebral, drawing, comic books, consuming media kind of stuff?
Yeah, but it wasn't because of my mom. I mean, I think that it was, I have this thing with my sister. My sister is 4 years older than me. And from when she was like 3 or 4 years old, she was into dance. She was a dancer. She was always dancing. She took dance classes. She eventually went to study dance at the Tisch University of the Arts in New York. And she, like, that dance was literally her life from all of her life. And she still teaches dance today. But there is definitely a sense of opposites with me and her. And I think that I forcibly pushed it. Like, if she liked boysenberry syrup on her pancakes, not me, maple syrup.
That ain't
She
me.
drank cranberry juice. Nah, apple juice. Wouldn't even taste cranberry juice. So I think that there was just trying to claim some sense of identity, being a younger sibling and having to do something that was different than my sister. I don't know if that led to me being into comic books and science fiction and whatever. It could be that I was just a child of the 80s and I was into Star Wars and comic books and science fiction and then, whatever. But I don't think it had anything to do with my mom and the physicality of it. Like, my dad was, I don't know, my dad was and was an actor, or at least a theatrical actor. And my mom was a performer and my sister was a performer. So maybe there was an aspect of me that never wanted to, that rejected all that sort of outward appearance. Flash forward 20 years later and I'm doing kickball skits and doing nonsense with Richard and Scott and all that nonsense where I'm over the top. So maybe it's just in the blood. It doesn't, somehow it just comes out no matter what, whether it's my dad acting or mom bodybuilding and doing routines, and my sister dancing and me dressing up as Satan and doing a kickball thing that way. I don't know.
Getting beat up by an old lady. Yeah.
Okay. Before we move on, it walks downstairs alone or in pairs. For fun, it's a wonderful thing. It makes a slinky sound. It's slinky. It's slinky. Fun for a girl and a boy. Without cults, we would have never had that song. Why? Well, because the inventor of the slinky was
Walter Slinky.
Walter Slinkopowitz. The inventor of the slinky, Richard James, was, after all the money he got from making the slinky, was enticed to join a cult in Bolivia, a religious cult, and leaving his wife, Betty James, behind with this company and with this novelty toy product that was quickly fading in interest among toy buyers with all the other cool sci-fi toys and things like that. So she had to sink or swim. And so she moved away from the town they lived in, brought all the slinky manufacturing equipment, and she wrote the jingle, the slinky song as we know it, because she had to find some way to advertise to try to make some money to try to get out of debt. So we can thank cults for the slinky song, at least. So All right. So Tom and Steph, boy, get your blowtorch out. They're going to take down some big institution like Garfield or some beloved character or something like
Pretty
that. Yeah.
close.
Yeah, screw you, family circle. Okay, what is it?
Girl Scouts.
Girl Scouts. Boom. Whoa, not Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. Is it the kind of the cookie thing? Okay, never mind.
Cookies.
Cookies.
Yeah.
Cookies. They're kind of overpricing them. They're
Whoa.
guilting you into taking the cookies at work. Their parents are bringing it in. The kids don't see a dime of it. Supposedly goes back into the Girl Scout troops. Yeah. I have my doubts.
Yeah, that's underage working.
That's
really.
yeah. That's,
wow,
child labor.
Child labor, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard this is the biggest fundraiser outside of politics, the Girl Scout
Really?
cookies. Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you have a personal, I imagine just you walking out of a Ralph's and some tiny little girl named Megan at a card table soliciting, and you turn on a heel and scream all this stuff at her. Did you have... Is it personal, or is it just kind of an observation based on...
I think it's just the observation. I mean, when I was a Cub Scout back in the day, and we used to sell candy bars at outrageous prices, and it was always, as I don't know where they got it, but they were good candy bars. They were really, and so are the Girl Scout cookies. But it just seems like such a scam to get little kids to sell. Even now, like in 2020, like it was different, like in the 80s or the 70s, but to now still have children selling cookies.
Yeah.
I mean, you used to go door to door. I mean, I used to remember. I used to go sell candy, which is such a. Just think of like the leeway your parents gave you to go door to door for Halloween.
Yeah.
Now that would be like child abuse if you did that. So.
Now, would you sell the actual candy bars then, or just the promise of candy bars? Because I think that's
there was
that's where it gets a little tricky. Where it's like, all right, you give me money, and then at some point, candy bars will be available to you, and you will also be reliant on me, a child, to deliver them to you. But give me the money first. The money first.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we had that too. Where you saw them like Katydids and all that. Yeah. So,
what do you know about the rest of the organization? Is Girl Scout cookies just the fundraising aspect so corrupt that it kind of throws away the whole organization for you, or is that just the visible part of it that you're criticizing?
I got to be honest. I just wanted to throw them under the bus, based on no research. No, I think I just look back on like things I did as a kid that were acceptable, of like being a newspaper carrier and having to collect money from adults for late payments and people stiffing me on the bill. And it's like, I'm 10 years old and I'm running a business here. Like,
they teach you to conformity, and you have, as a girl, I was a Girl Scout. It didn't last very long. I think it lasted like a few weeks, and I was not into it. But you have to wear these uniforms, and you get together with the other girls, and it teaches you, conformity, and just kind of like all those similarities to the other cults.
Let me ask you: are there any other aspects of life in which young girls are encouraged into entrepreneurship? Well, even saying what I just said sounds lurid, but I mean, like, I don't know that young girls are presented with entrepreneurship or business as a career path as much as they might be in Girl Scouts.
So you're saying it's a positive thing as far as
I'd say one aspect is I'd say you as a young man with your paper out, or you're this or that, you had the kind of all this independence was probably expected of you. Whereas a young woman, Richard, you have a teen.
Yes.
I don't know if that path is always lit for her, presented to her in terms of starting her own business or anything like that.
No, not necessarily. Although I don't know that it's not. She did do Girl Scouts for a couple of years, and the thing they don't tell you is that you are basically responsible for a crate of Girl Scout cookies, and they're worth X number of dollars, and you're expected to raise X number of dollars as a minimum through your sales of cookies. So if you only sell one half of that amount, well, guess who's going to be on the hook for the other half?
Oh, wow.
So it is a desperate fight to try and like bug every friend, every semi-friend, every acquaintance.
Yeah.
It does start to feel like that multi-level marketing thing
Yeah.
where it's like
the beginning of the multi-level marketing for sure.
yeah, it has that feel of like for the next month and a half, all you're going to hear about on my Facebook feed is, hey, anyone need Girl Scout cookies? Thin Mints.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know what's funny?
And for young girls it's cookies, so you're in the kitchen, it's baking, it's a gender bias, right?
They don't make them.
Yeah, but it's like it's symbol. It's a symbol of why can't they sell like bikes?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Why don't they think
Chewing tobacco.
These Girl Scout shivs.
Chewing tobacco.
an MMA competition? You know, now that I think about the boxes themselves, which usually have on their colorful front a young girl speaking behind a podium, like she's the president of the United States, or there's these very aspirational photos of a woman on a young girl on a zip line going across the forest trees or something like that. So there's a sense for me that yes, this is a huge fundraiser, much probably a scam, because I don't know if those girls get to pocket, if they have pockets on those outfits, any of the money. And if so, does it feel aspirational to them, or does it feel I got to do this thing because it almost seems like homework? Probably it doesn't feel like.
At first, for Vivian, I think at first it was very exciting. Like she got to go have a little booth on Larchmont where she got to like bug people and be cute and try and get people to buy giant boxes, giant amounts of cookies. I think after the third or fourth week of doing that, it got to be a little old, and she was sort of checked out on it. In terms of pocketing the money, no, the kids don't get to take any of the profits. The money that they earn goes back into their troop to pay for things like field trips and going away on weekends and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Wow.
I feel like I lost that round. I feel like
Tom and Steph, no, this is like, I feel like you're just like all these sacred cows that you've just beheaded and butchered and slaughtered, which is awesome. So, Richard and Michael, what's your final salvo against these?
And our final choice is from the beloved sitcom The Simpsons, and it's the Movementarians and the Movementarianism from the episode The Joy of Sect. And it is a kind of scathing taking from all sorts of aspects of different cults and followers, kind of mashing them all together into one kind of general kind of cult landscape and just plopped into the town of Springfield. And what's great about the episode is that it really just preys on just generally how easy and gullible everyone is, and how quickly everyone falls into this kind of vein of authoritism, and the people that are just like running it are so blatant about it. The person that runs it is called simply the leader, and everyone simply follows the leader because he's the leader. And they kind of shame everybody into following along and brainwashing them. And of course, chief among them is Homer Simpson, who is just the quickest. At first, they think that he is this really tough egg to crack, that he's just not listening to any of the things they're saying. And then they trick him into, of course, as a kind of callback to you, Jeff, they trick him into following the leader by simply going, na 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 leader, na 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 leader. And then Homer, of course, is just, he's brainwashed instantly by it. There's no turning back. But what's great about the Movementarians is that they just kind of pull from like these kind of other existing cults, like the Scientology, as previously mentioned, and the Ranshish movement, which was kind of came to popularity last year with that the documentary
oh yeah,
about Yeah, about the cult who kind of bought a town in Oregon and moved in, and everyone rallied against them in like the early 80s, and everything was shown to be just very sketchy, as all these kind of cults go. And of course, it's all based on the idea that the leader will take you to another planet called Blistonia after X thousands or millions of years. And it's just this great hodgepodge of all the different things that we've kind of talked about. Is it pulls from promises of eternal life and UFOs and the real life things that people have actually fallen into. And it's just one of their great episodes.
Yeah. There were a number of, I wonder, you could almost do an episode of Simpsons cults or secret societies or nefarious organizations.
Yeah, the Freemasons. There was a Freemasons episode. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So that was a fun choice, and we're done. We are going to see what goes up on the Mount Rushmore. I'm just going to do this. Normally, Tom and Steph, it's a clean sweep on our guests' behalf. Normally, they come in and they just kind of torch everything. But you guys, you cut me to the quick with CrossFit. So CrossFit is going up on the Mount Rushmore. Because if I don't, then I look like I'm in a cult.
Our plan worked, Michael.
I'm totally got him.
I know I'm in a cult. But the rest is all Tom and Steph and their brutal takedown of multiple institutions. So many sacred cows they've just destroyed. Let's go with let's go with Girl Scouts, just because screw you, young women, trying to bring tasty cookies to people, asking for compensation. And Catholic Church, because of the boldness that it takes to make that statement. And Scientology, because we want to make sure nobody listens to this podcast, and our entertainment careers are stunted. Okay, Tom and Steph, remind folks again where they can, the name of your podcast and where they could follow your careers outside of podcasting.
Anchor.fm/I'm a Rescue. I'm at Tom Clark Comedy, Instagram, Twitter, and TomClark.com is my website.
And on Instagram and TikTok is Super Coach Steph. I do fun parody videos about MLM. And StephClarkComedy.com for my tour dates.
Awesome.
Mostly Zoom shows. Right
awesome. Guys, we got to get a TikTok. We're way behind.
I only have 4 followers right now.
Well, I'm gonna find you and follow.
Steph, if you can learn some dances that we can record, then we're in good shape.
I don't think I can do any of that stuff. Okay, all right. So this has been the Mount Rushmore of cults with our special guests, Steph and Tom Clark. As always, I'm Jeff.
I'm Richard.
And Michael.
Yay, we're done.